Okay, so I found this incredibly interesting. Ben Shapiro is talking about Andrew Tate, and he did this a few months ago, and I made a video on that. But in this video, I'm going to establish where I think both Ben Shapiro and Andrew Tate, yes, even Andrew Tate, the man who I have posters of, is wrong in some areas. And this is very interesting because obviously Ben Shapiro has a lot of correct ideas, and Andrew Tate has a lot of correct ideas. I'm uniquely positioned as a young guy in a world where masculinity is demonized and we don't have role models, where I am very deliberate and selective about who I listen to and why. And both of these men are people I have allowed to shape my worldview. So let's start here.
In a fight, I can hire security, not identity. Like, I think that the adjudication of masculinity by how many people you can punch is a really dumb way to do masculinity.
We all know that if you've watched Andrew Tate's videos on Rumble, every single video includes him sparring and punching people as a sign of masculinity. Now, that does have elements of masculinity, but this is actually very true and one of Andrew Tate's only incorrect understandings about the world. We do not live in primitive times. We live in civilized times where the most powerful men are not the UFC world champions. They are not the men who would succeed in single combat against other men. They are men like Elon Musk, like Mark Zuckerberg, like him or hate him. They are men who wield tremendous resources and social status in this sophisticated enterprise called capitalism that we're using to replace combat, given that now in this modern time you can't just pick up swords with your boys and walk around killing people and taking their stuff, because if you try that you'll get put in jail very, very quickly. You'll get removed from the proverbial game, the game being capitalism, the game being competition. I found all of this very interesting.
It turns out we have guns now. So if people really want to get in that kind of fight, I can hire security and I win.
It's very true that, so this is something that I would like to ask Andrew Tate. I'd like to ask him in a very serious way if he thinks he's more dangerous than a Navy SEAL, for instance. Because in an octagon, if they're just sparring, no weapons, maybe he'd come out ahead. But we can't ignore the fact that we live in a world where gunpowder exists. We have very sophisticated weapons, and a Navy SEAL is much more proficient with any gun than he's going to be. This is a reality. But see, as a young guy who has multiple men to look at and to learn from, I don't have to accept all of a single person's ethos. I can pick and choose which elements I want to integrate. Now, don't get me wrong, there is an extremely strong case for Andrew Tate being an embodiment of masculine impressiveness, given his physicality and his work ethic, his drive, his ambition, the fact that he inspires other men. All of that I admire. But the only flaw I've heard him repeat recently is that an idea is only true if you can physically defend it. That's wrong. Because if you could hypothetically beat up Elon Musk and every engineer in the world and then try to build a rocket that could reach the moon based on false ideas, the rocket would not reach the moon. Meaning that an idea is not true based on if you can defend it or not. It is true based on if God says so or if nature deems it accurate. This is a physics-based, this is a first principle-based, this is an objective, truth-based understanding of the world, which actually happens to be the correct understanding of the world. And this is the only flaw in Andrew Tate's professed thinking patterns that I've witnessed. And I've held off on saying this because I wasn't sure if he was actually joking or if he meant it, because he said this a few times, but in his more recent Rumble videos, he said it more consistently and alluded to this more consistently. But to me, this is all very interesting because Ben Shapiro is a large part of what has intellectually shaped me, as well as Andrew Tate. Both inspire me, both call me to a higher ideal of performance and existence. Both are very sophisticated archetypes. Let's get back to the video. This is very interesting to me. If this isn't interesting to you, fine, but I'm recording this video because it's extremely interesting to me personally. That's why I turned on the camera here.
You lose. Like, I don't have,
so Ben Shapiro says, I can hire a security team with guns, and then you lose any physical confrontation. This is a reference to the modern world that we're living in.
People really want...
And he's right.
Want to get in that kind of fight? I can hire security and I win. You lose.
And also, it doesn't matter how good at MMA you are, if you don't have a gun and the other guy does have a gun and you're in an octagon, you're done. You know, again, the modern world changes everything. This isn't even 200 or 300 years ago.
Like, I don't have to physically pummel somebody in order to prove that I'm a dude.
And this is really interesting, guys, because what Ben Shapiro is saying here is not true for most of human history. This is literally only true in this tiny sliver of civilization that exists now. But like it or not, men like this are some of the most powerful men in society. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Forbes list, they're the most powerful people in society. This is why Trump is such an abnormality as president, because we hardly ever have alpha male leaders. Most of them are introverted. As a matter of fact, most billionaires are introverted. if you see Elon Musk on stage with Donald Trump, and this was so cool to see, even though Elon Musk is worth like 50 or 60 times what Trump is worth, Trump is still the alpha there in the interpersonal interactions. But Elon is still, until Trump's president, a much more powerful man in terms of his influence, in terms of his companies, in terms of everything. Probably even physically, ironically. This is all really cool. This is so cool to see. Because it's my generation that will get to take pieces from all of these heroes and say, this is who I want to be. It's like when you watch Captain America, and I might be going on here, but I don't care because this is very interesting. This is one of the most interesting videos I've recorded personally. When you look at like Captain America versus Iron Man, when I first started watching the Avengers, I gravitated to Iron Man. I'm like, if I could beat Tony Stark, that would be incredible. Tony Stark is who I want. I'm rooting for Tony Stark no matter what, right? And then I turned 21 and I'm like, actually, moral objectivism and self-sacrifice no matter the cost is even a higher thing to admire than Tony Stark's bravado and flair and wealth and coolness. And so now my favorite Avenger is Captain America. But that doesn't mean that I no longer admire archetypes from Iron Man when I watch those Marvel movies. I have a more integrated understanding. In the same way we can have integrated understandings from the masculine heroes of the 21st century. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Andrew Tate, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson. It is not all or nothing. And a big mistake I see young men making is thinking it's all or nothing.
You lose. Like I don't have to physically pummel somebody in order to prove that I'm a dude. I have a wife. I have 4 beautiful kids. I make a wonderful living.
Ben Shapiro is almost a billionaire. As a matter of fact, if we say that Andrew Tate's net worth is close to $1 billion, given that he shares his net worth with his brother, Ben Shapiro might be richer than Andrew Tate.
Do things that I think are productive in the world. I try to help people in my community. I give a lot of charity. That's a better adjudication of masculinity than taking off your shirt, strutting around with a cigar, and pretending that you're doing something for the world because you can rent a lot of Bugattis.
Now I have to be fair and accurate here. That is an oversimplification. It's acting as though Andrew Tate is some sort of male model for shallowness, and that walking around in physically excellent shape, demonstrating that you could beat a man in single combat, is valueless. That's not valueless because as you hone yourself into that, which is what you would do if you look at that as an ideal and therefore strive towards it, which is what millions of men have done, then you must acknowledge that that is worthwhile. Honing yourself in terms of physical combat. Guys, you don't go to the boxing gym because it's going to make you king of the world. Guns exist. But you go to the boxing gym because it's an internal battle. You're honing yourself. All martial arts teach this. It's an internal process that takes years. It's mastering your own psyche. It's discipline. You think you can take over governments by being ninjas and knowing the best martial arts and MMA fighting? Bro, if you got the entire UFC and tried to take the White House, you would be obliterated by Navy SEALs and Marines because we have a thing called guns. We watch the UFC, not because it is an expression of the frontier of performance and violence, but because it's a version of masculine violence that allows us to play iteratively, because people don't die at the end of a UFC match. Anyway, so Ben Shapiro's objecting to the image of Andrew Tate here.
Is that an Andrew Tate shot?
That was, yeah.
You don't like
I
Tate?
wasn't subtle. I think you're schmuck. I think.
So it makes sense why these guys don't like each other, obviously. Andrew Tate would say it's because Ben Shapiro is small and can't fight. That's an insufficient analysis. Ben Shapiro would say because Andrew Tate is utterly morally compromised and provides no actual value to young men, which of course is objectively incorrect. And you'll hear Ben Shapiro admit this in a second.
You don't like him at all?
I think that Tate is, what I've always said about Tate is that because feminism is a target-rich environment, he hits that target a lot. And I agree with a lot of the critiques. And I think
so overcoming feminine incompetence and degeneracy with masculine ultra-competence is the archetype that would inevitably win out, and that's what Andrew Tate has done. However, it is incorrect to pretend as though Andrew Tate is not an embodiment for masculine excellence or impressiveness, because he is masculine and impressive. Also, something Ben Shapiro said is that his Bugatti's rented. This is untrue. Given the amount of revenue he's collecting from the real world, you could easily afford these cars.
He's like a terrible doctor. He's really good at diagnosis, and he's horrible at prescription. Everything that he recommends for guys is pretty much the opposite of what they should be.
We can't pretend as though he's Jordan Peterson, right? He hasn't spent decades reading books to speak in the highest resolution possible. And a select few number of men will know what I'm talking about. Some men will be like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? You're saying Jordan Peterson has more congruent ideas than Andrew Tate? Actually, yes, I'm saying that. And if you don't understand that, it's because you weren't born to understand that, okay? But Andrew Tate doesn't need to be functioning at Jordan Peterson's academic understanding or psychological understanding to say true things. Similarly, it's also, oh dude, I'm angering all the people in this video. Similarly, it's an intellectual flaw when Andrew Tate pretends as though he could debate Jordan Peterson, which I saw him say one time, and that he would win easily because he would just be louder. If he just overtalk Jordan Peterson, that would make him look bad, but the fact that he doesn't realize that indicates, again, a misunderstanding of dominance equaling truth. So I guess I'm just angering all the people with this video.
At least, I wouldn't say everything. Half.
He says some good.
When I heard Ben Shapiro say that, I thought, whoa, that is an uncharacteristically low-resolution statement for him to make, proving that he is emotional here. So he just went from 100% to half. For people that are operating on the level of Ben Shapiro, I can tell you from personal experience, that's a really big deal. Going from, because we think in very first principle terms and rarely go from this extreme to this other extreme as a result. So listen to what he just said.
Much the opposite of what they should be doing. Diagnosis, and he's horrible at prescription. Everything that he recommends for guys is pretty much the opposite of what
He uses the word everything.
they should be doing. At least, I wouldn't say everything. Half.
He knows that he's wrong there. He went from 100% to 50%.
He
says some good shit,
Yes.
and then he says some crazy shit.
So this is his game. His game is he'll say one thing that is perfectly obvious, and then he'll say one thing that is batshit.
I won't say it's perfectly obvious because masculinity is under attack, and people don't look to you, Ben Shapiro, as an embodiment of masculinity. Yes, you check many boxes, but you don't check all the boxes. There are boxes that other men check that they also want to see that are also useful. I don't know if Andrew Tate or Ben Shapiro will ever come to a fully integrated understanding of masculinity as a result of their personal vendettas against each other. But this is, again, more about who we choose to be as the younger generation of men. Of course, this only applies to men who have gotten to a certain level of mental capability and have freed themselves from the relativistic, anti-truth resentments of the left. So this might be a small audience. I have no idea how well this video will do, but I don't care because this is very interesting to me, and I'm happy to record this.
Lunacy. And then when you his game is he'll say one thing that is perfectly obvious, and then he'll say one thing that is batshit lunacy. And then when you attack the batshit lunacy, he'll say, "Are you saying that that's not the perfectly obvious thing?" Like, no, I'm saying that like what you just said is batshit loony. So he'll say things like, that means that men should like work out and strive hard. Like, agree, totally agree.
So if you agree with that, then you have a lot of common ground.
And then he'll say things like, "And you should be judged by how many women you impregnate." It's like, no.
That is never something Andrew Tate has said, by the way. He's made jokes, he's implied. I can see how if you listen to only what he implies, that could be your interpretation. But he has actually never said your value results in how many women you can impregnate. If Andrew Tate does think that your value is directly tied to how many women you can impregnate, which may be something that I would have to ask him myself, and he does think that, then he would be objectively wrong, given that both Elon Musk can impregnate a lot of women and a homeless bum can have 9 different baby mamas. The analysis is so much more complex and nuanced. I would say you may be able to bring more value to society in the domain of having children if you could find a way to have lots of kids and still find a way to maintain them in a Christian sense. However, there's still an argument against that, given that Western civilization is built on the nuclear family, and then you're not technically embodying the ideal for other men, which is suboptimal in a sense. And also, how can you ensure that your woman is properly feminine if she's constantly worried about other women? As you can see, this is still somewhat of an internal conflict within me, but I've come down on the side of embodying the ideal for civilization being the nuclear family. And I've given a lot of thought about this, but I think that the proper model is not to have multiple wives at the same time. If you look at the Bible, Abraham had 4 different wives, but they weren't at the same time.
No, that's stupid. That's bad. That's bad for society. That's stupid and unnecessary. And I'm getting kind of tired of the game where everyone is a political candidate. By this, I mean, when you're voting for a political candidate, it's a package deal. Right? You vote for the person, you vote against the person. It's a package deal.
Right.
When it comes to the people that you choose to consume, it's not a package deal. It turns out that to get the good stuff from Andrew Tate, I don't have to ingest all the trash that Andrew Tate puts out, including his scam university.
So, okay, Ben Shapiro is clearly not trying to ingest Andrew Tate because he doesn't need to. He's already established in life, and he has no interest in doing that. But the people that Andrew Tate does appeal to, the people that even Ben Shapiro actually does appeal to, are younger men who are building themselves. Now we're going to be fair to Andrew Tate and correct Ben Shapiro. The university is not actually a scam university. It has transformed the lives of many men by teaching them real skills on how to make money, as well as providing an environment where other ambitious men can meet each other and share in that ambition and collective mindset of bettering themselves. I am not a part of, and have never been a part of, Hustlers University, but I know men who have, and I know what's in there. And so I can conclusively say, given that they teach men how to make money and have hundreds, if not thousands, of success stories of men making money with real skills that they learned there and did not have before, it is not a scam. That talking point is old and settled and is intellectually unserious, as it's been repeated by people like CoffeeZilla and, freaks on the left and just people that are driven by resentment. So this is not correct.
I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to listen to a guy who made his money in cam girls.
So this is another error. He did not make his money in cam girls. He made less, if you look at the total amount of money he's created, less than 1% came from cam girls. That's just how he made his first million. Most of the money he has created, most of his wealth, has been created as a result of the Real World, which is the rebranded name of Hustlers University. Hustlers University produces about $10 million a month. $50 a month, about 200,000 users. Andrew Tate makes about $10 million a month. This completely dwarfs the money he made from cam girls, which even given liberal estimates, if you look at what he was talking about in his early appearances on Fresh and Fit, was less than $10 million. In fact, given how braggadocious Andrew Tate is, they even literally tell you what their net worth is in some of their earlier Tate Confidential episodes back when they were on YouTube. They're now normal, which you can find. And right before Andrew Tate blew up, they admitted that their net worth was around $11 million.
And then proclaims his virtue at the same exact time.
Have you ever debated?
So, Andrew Tate has done that, to be fair, in some instances, but he has also said that it was morally suboptimal doing the cam girl thing, given his conversion to Islam, and Islam obviously condemns that, just as Christianity does. So he has said that he doesn't regret it, but that it is morally suboptimal. So he has acknowledged the moral suboptimal nature of cam girling, and he does not teach young men how to do that. He teaches men how to do other things now.
No, I mean, I did a 20-minute video on breaking down his Tate University and
yes, and I analyzed that video, and I was pretty harsh on Ben at the time.
all that kind of stuff. So I mean, listen,
That'd be an entertaining.
It'd be some great internet. It'd be some great internet.
Would you ever do that?
I mean, listen, I'd be happy to do that.
It would be great, but I just hope that Andrew Tate could not do the thing of "you're not impressive because I could beat you up" thing, because in the modern world it just doesn't fly. Even in Romania, which is a couple decades behind the rest of the modern world, if you beat somebody up, you're still gonna go to jail. Like you can't take people's stuff because you beat them up anymore. That's hundreds of years old. That's just no longer exists. It is what it is. And the fact that Andrew Tate doesn't try to fight Dicot with guns and bulletproof armor or whatever when they go into his house to take him to jail, which they have done like 3 or 4 times now, proves that Andrew Tate does understand this. So, yeah.
If we help set it up.
I mean, that's fine. I mean, but I know what it'll turn into. It wouldn't be a debate. It would be me critiquing his specific ideas and then him just saying that I'm not man enough to take off my shirt and how many women have I impregnated and can I fight people and he can...
See, I think that it would be acceptable to reference the domain of physicality if the intellectual domain was also sufficiently covered, given that a man should strive for excellence in all things. Even Socrates said, or was it Plato? It's a shame, it was Socrates, it's a shame for a man to grow old and not know the beauty of which his body is capable. But unfortunately, and you've seen this with Jordan Peterson too, it's become personal between these guys. So I'm not sure if we'll ever see a good faith conversation, which to me is tragic, because there's nothing I'd want more than to watch Jordan Peterson talk to Andrew Tate.
Kick my ass. I'm sure Andrew Tate can kick my ass. I mean, so what? Like, okay. A lot of people can kick my ass, as it turns out. Not that big. All right. But you're...
Right, and Ben Shapiro still reaches millions of people a day, is a billionaire, and is on full send right now, you know what I mean? And also, a lot of young men look up to him. So his point is well made. This is not 250 years ago.
Ideas are still shit.
That'd be some good internet, like you said, though.
It would be amazing internet,
That'd
sure.
be great.
Yeah.
On that transgender subject, I'm sure
they will have a conversation now. I hope it's high quality.
Clip.
I will say that makes Andrew Tate especially impressive, in my opinion, is how articulate and thoughtful he has become, sort of rising to the occasion in combination with his physical and material impressiveness. Because that's not something you ever see. You see intellectual geniuses like Peterson, like Shapiro, they're still exceptionally rare. But you almost never see people who are mentally competent to a very high degree and also have that material success. And I'm not sure if Ben Shapiro or Jordan has acknowledged that. This is coming from a guy who has listened to hundreds of hours of Andrew Tate and thousands of hours of Jordan Peterson. Andrew Tate is still not in Jordan Peterson's intellectual weight class, but he's much more impressive than your average rich guy with a Bugatti. And when they just try to pretend as though, oh, he's just a rich guy with a Bugatti, it's like, no, men don't respect him. They don't want to be like him because he's just like another rich guy. As Andrew Tate said in a conversation he had a long time ago with XQC, money isn't what makes Andrew Tate impressive. It's sort of the raw masculine urges and desires being combined with immense ambition. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you have to select very carefully. That's a problem a lot of people struggle with, but it's not one I struggle with. It's what elements of what they have to say are worth listening to, given an idealized version of yourself which you want to aim for. And the point, guys, of learning from other men is so that you don't have to repeat their same mistakes, so that you can be better than them one day. Otherwise, why wouldn't you just go do it yourself and make a bunch of your own mistakes? No, you want to save time. You don't want to make the same mistakes that they made. This is what a father teaches his son. Don't make the same mistakes I made. Be better than me. We can be better iterations of these men, even though they're the titans of our time. And deep down, that's what they want too. So if you made it to this point in the video, I appreciate all of you watching. This was extremely interesting to me to find. And I'll see you guys tomorrow for the election. It's going to be crazy. Men, get out and vote.